well, that ain't good. Why does it do these things? Well, you already know how today's going to go. I can't believe that. There's like nothing you can do about it because there's no adjustment on it. It's just, why did it have to do that? There it is. Hello, my friends. Jerry Rosa here in the Rosa Stringworks Man Cave. And yeah, that's pretty much the story of my whole life right there. You just saw it. If it can, it will. There's just almost no doubt about it. Just like yesterday, I told you I was going to town to ship off those boxes for Cometa Systems. Well, I got to looking at his email to make sure that everything was cool, and he sends me the invoice and everything. And so I'm looking through that, and his wording was, send that box to, I think it was South Carolina. And I said, so I get down to the shop to get it, and there's two large boxes. So I almost took it and thought, well, he probably just said box, but he meant boxes, or something like that. And so I emailed him back and I said, are you sure, there's two boxes here. Do you want both these boxes to go to South Carolina? He's going, well, that's not right. There should only be one box. And he said, are you sure the other box didn't come in last week or something? And I said, no, they both came in yesterday. Back and forth. This is, moments in email. It takes a while back and forth between here and Italy. Well, anyway, come to find out, that was the wrong shipment. So it's a darn good thing I checked, because those weren't even supposed to be here yet. And the box that was supposed to be here didn't get here till yesterday afternoon. So now I've got to look in my email instructions for today, and I'll be taking 3 boxes to town, and hopefully I'll get the right ones going to the right place. And it's not like the stuff's cheap. This is expensive equipment. I mean, like, we're talking multiple tens of thousands of dollars in each box. Yeah, it's crazy. And yeah, I thought I charged a lot. Man, that stuff is expensive equipment. Well, anyway, things have, other than that, everything else has gone wrong too. So, except for this, I'll show you the one video that did go okay. Here it is. Well, my friends, I started making these adapters, or I should say I came out of the house about 2:15. And it is now 3:05, so less than an hour later, I've got both adapters made. And that's about how much time it would take me to drive to town and back, not to mention the purchase price of the adapters, if you could even find them. And that would be the problem. You'd spend a half hour looking for them. And then if they even had them in stock. So you never know. But regardless, I made the adapters. We have a sink that works now. This is actually a kitchen faucet, but I thought this would really fit my needs probably better than anything else I've had in here. So I'm pretty happy with that. Works for me. Yeah, I forgot to show you that, I think, yesterday, because, well, anyway, I did it the same day that I had that problem, and I don't remember when that was. Was that Monday, or was that Tuesday, or whenever? But anyway, I did it that same day I was telling you about it, and it only took me like less than an hour there to make the 2 adapters and then put it back together, and it's working fine. Yet another crisis aborted. That's the only thing that's worked pretty good this week, though, I think. Everything else has just pretty much gone in the proverbial toilet. Here's the sad saga of the Ranger. Then I'll add more to it after you see this. Well, my friends, I have my compression tester hooked up to the cylinder here, and I thought I'd just check that. I have a feeling it's going to be too much compression if instead of not enough, the way the starter's acting anyway. It's supposed to be between 150 and 185. So let's see where we go. Well, there you go. That's not that much. It seems to be holding there. That's amazing. Huh. That's crazy. I would have expected that to be a lot of compression based on how hard it is for that to turn over. It could just be that maybe the starter is just bad. And, you know, that's a second starter that was used also. So maybe it's bad too. I don't know. Bummer. Let me check the compression in the other one to see what it looks like. Actually, what I think I'll do is take the other plug out and see if this thing turns over easier. Because it's really turning over very difficult. I'll set it up and show you the other side. Okay, it's now time to see what this side has. The other side had 120. Well, it's 120 also. And it seems to be holding at 120 also. That surprises me. That really surprises me. I expected it to be more, not less. I know it's unusual for one of them to be more. That's pretty darn unusual. But I was just basing it on the fact that the starter was really hard to turn over. I guess maybe the starter's just bad. I would think it would run on 120. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I'll do some investigating on that. At least that's a clue. We'll go on from there. Just for the record, here's what it sounds like with no plugs in there, so there's no compression. Turns it over pretty good that way, although it doesn't seem impressively fast. So maybe the starter's just bad. Well, my friends, up to now, I have not had much success with this. Fixing this Ranger, that is. I've always said you got to be smarter than whatever it is you're working on. And sometimes I am. I don't feel like that in this particular case. I got to thinking there's probably error codes on this thing somehow if I just knew how to get to them. So I've Googled it here, and I'm going to follow these directions and see if it works. I have no idea. Turn the ignition key accessory on without starting the engine. Locate the mode button. I guess that's this. And on your instrument cluster, find the mode button. Navigate to the menu. Press and hold the mode button to enter the settings menu. All I know is that switches you through different deals. There's tach, trip, odometer. I don't know of any particular menu though. I'm just going to hold it and see what that does. I'm holding it while it's on odometer and it's doing nothing. Okay, it went to trip. I'll hold it on trip. It went to 0, which that's probably not good. Well, I guess I just zeroed out the trip. That's not that big a deal, I don't guess. There's your tach. I'll hold it on tach. I don't see anything on that. Okay, now it's on nothing, so I'm going to hold it on nothing. At least it's not pointing to anything. It's just on your actual, I don't know what that's on. It says 20,602. Is that the mileage? It probably is, I guess. I can't imagine this thing having 20,000 miles on it, but it probably does. I don't know what that stands for. Or maybe it's 2060.2. Maybe that's what it is.
The little point is tiny. You can barely see it. I think that's what it is. 2060.2. I'm holding it, nothing. Okay, it went back to the time. I'll hold it again. Probably won't do anything. Nothing. And now it's back to odometer. The one thing I know for sure is this Ranger, everything that works on all the other Rangers, my model year is completely different on everything. It just so happens I got the one lemon thing, the lemon year. Had I known it, I would never have bought this sucker. I mean, it's been a good machine, don't get me wrong, but doggone, everything about it is unique, and you can't find any help on any of this stuff. All right, well, it doesn't appear to be doing anything. Let me look at this some more. If I figure it out, I'll show you. Per my computer training type thing, I thought, well, you know, maybe there's another way to get into it. So I thought, I'll hold this button down as I turn the key on, see if that does anything. And it definitely does something. It does something different. Like there shows the batteries at 11.5, which makes sense because I left the key on all night by accident. Just can't win for losing. This says off. I do not know what that means. It's like there's a wrench there. There's 4 wheels and a wrench, and it says off. I'm not good at interpreting signals like that. I can't do it. It just doesn't make sense to me. Nothing about that makes sense. There's a wrench with an N and a 164. There's a wrench with 0.0. There's an MP. There's a 12 o'clock. There's the battery at 11.5. 0 RPM. I don't get it. I don't know nothing about this. If I hold this off button, nope. If I hold it, it just stays off. It doesn't change. 164. I don't know what that stands for. Unless that's an error code or something. I have no idea. It's definitely different than it is when you just turn it on. That's the only one I can tell. It's got a battery sign that says 11.5. That's the only one that makes any sense to me. 0 RPM doesn't make any sense to me. Off doesn't make any sense to me. Unless it's 4-wheel drive is off. Maybe that's what that means. Yeah, now it's on. Yeah, that's what that means. Like, big deal. So I guess that just tells you that it's working. This 164, it's got an N for neutral and 164, and I don't know what that means at all. Yeah, and a wrench and 0.0, wrench with MP, miles. I think that MP is miles per, and the other one was km for kilometers or something. I don't know. I wonder if there's another option here. How would I do it if I turn the key on and then press it just real quick? It didn't do anything. That's just normal. I can't figure out any codes. I'm going to check 164 and see if that makes any sense. That's the only code I could even sort of see there, maybe.
Well, the 164 changed to a 160 when I went back and looked later, so I don't know if that has anything to do with anything. Those codes, when I look them up online, they're, they may or may not make sense for the issues that I'm having. It's just, everything was really ambiguous. So I can tell you for sure, I have tested just about everything I can think to test and check. Like it's got really good spark. It could be the ECM or ECU, whichever way you prefer to call that. But those are like $600 to try it. And, and I haven't been able to find anybody that can tell you how to test one of those things. And I guess every one of them is so unique that it's pretty almost impossible to test them or something. So I don't know what to do. I really don't. And I don't want to spend $600 on a new unit, which, like I said, I already had a second unit anyway, and I plugged it in, and it does exactly the same with either unit. And you would think that maybe something would be different, and nothing's different. Now, back to the compression testing. Here's something that I didn't know, and I don't mind admitting when I don't know something, but I thought compression testing is just compression testing. Well, it's not. First of all, there's two parts to this. The first part is that I saw a video where the guy says, now to test compression correctly, you've got to take your air cleaner off, and you've got to make sure your gas pedal is pressed all the way down so that your throttle's all the way open when you do your compression. Well, I'd never heard that before. I thought, well, I wonder if that would make a difference. So sure enough, I go back out there and I test it, and guess what? It's like 15 higher, but it's still, like below 150. Well, it's supposed to be 150 to 185. Well, that put it up to around 140, 145, somewhere in there. That's what it jumped it up to that, just by taking off the air cleaner and pressing the gas pedal down. I didn't know that would change the compression. I really didn't. I just thought it would suck the compression in there regardless, but it doesn't, apparently. So that's something I learned on that. And maybe if you knew that already, maybe I'm just stupid. I don't know. But anyway, so that was the first thing. Well, then I got to looking further, and would you not know, the luck of the draw again, like I got lucky on this 2009 being like the only unique year there is out there. I mean, it really is the only unique year. Nothing matches anything that anybody else shows on their videos. Nothing matches mine. Nothing, not anything. They'll going through that menu. They'll show how their menu looks. Mine looks totally different. Their button to press the menu, it's in a different place even. I mean, everything about everything on my machine is different than every other year. It's so dumb. It's so dumb that I got that one, and that's just my typical luck. Well, anyway, which makes it just that much harder because there's so much help out online on these things, but none of the help applies to my machine. So anyway, the other thing about the compression is I found another guy that Steve's Small Engine or something, Anyway, he puts out lots of videos on, lawnmowers and chainsaws and stuff like that. Well, anyway, he says, now you're probably using the wrong compression tester to test these small engines. I'm thinking, compression tester is a compression tester. How's it going to be different, He goes, you see this one here? This one has a Schrader valve. This one does not. Let me show you the difference. So he tested it with the exact tester I'm using on a chainsaw. And you could tell the chainsaw had good compression because, you just, if you know anything about engines, when they've got compression and when they don't. Well, this sucker, you could just see the way he was pulling it. It really had compression. So he tested with the tester just exactly like my compression tester. It tests at 45. Well, I thought, that looks awful low for that chainsaw. I would think that's well over 100 the way he's pulling that thing. Just looking at it, I could see that. So sure enough, he puts the other tester on it, which has the Schrader valve, puts that on there. It goes up to like 165. So from 40 to 165. So the tester I'm using isn't good for small engines for some reason. Now, he says they work just fine on automobiles, like the tester I have. It came from Harbor Freight, and it says you can use them just fine on an automobile, but it won't work on a small engine. How does it know the difference? It's just a pressure gauge. Pressure's pressure. That's what you would think, right? Apparently not. Because, he showed it. He put the exact gauge I have on that chainsaw. It said 40. He put the other gauge on there with the Schrader valve. It went to 165 or something like that. It might even been higher than that. It was way up there. Huge difference. So I tested it with my gauge, and it's 130-ish, 145 when I pressed on the gas and opened the air cleaner. It went up to 145. And then the other ambiguous thing is when I'm trying to find out what should it be, online, I'm looking at the numbers. Well, one time it says it's supposed to be 150 to 185, but most of the ones I found said it's supposed to be 210 to like 250 or something. I mean, much higher. Well, I'm way below that with my tester. So now I'm thinking, do I need to get a different tester to even know if my compression's right? Because I have no idea. At this point, I am completely, I'm beyond helpless or clueless. I'm below zero on that part now. It's just a mess. It's absolutely a mess. And then this happened. Well, the sky is looking ominous. I don't know if you can see it, but back in there's a little weird looking shape in the clouds, and I can hear thunder off in the distance. I wish it would rain. Oh my gosh, I wish it would rain. I'm gonna go to the house and maybe work on a video because I am frustrated with the Ranger and I'm getting nowhere. Getting nowhere fast. Anyway, it did rain a little bit, but I don't think it rained enough to hardly dampen the ground down. I mean, it was thundering and, just making all kinds of racket. And it got really dark, and we thought, all right, we're going to get some rain. And it rained for 15 minutes or something and quit. Nothing's going the way it should. Not one thing. Nothing. So I'm not looking forward to this afternoon taking these packages to Cometa Systems, or for them either, because who knows what's going to happen with that mess now. But I will tell you the only other thing that's sort of positive so far, at least it's kind of positive so far, is that I've gotten through a video that I'm trying to edit, which is making that axe handle for that axe that I found. Anyway, I've gotten through most of the first draft on that. I probably still have at least 30 more minutes of working on the first draft. And once I get through the first draft, well, then I just have to go back through it one more time and just refine it, which doesn't take as long, but it'll take at least an hour probably. So probably have an hour and 30 minutes, and then I'll at least have that video ready for tonight. Assuming everything goes good with the shipping the Cometa stuff. Let's see. David Tharp was the first one in, and from Nassau, Bahamas. You poor guy. I feel so sorry for you being down there. Let's see. And then there's Brian Byler, Joe Nigan, and Lester Cunningham. Then David Tharp says, I saw my neighbor taking my socks off of the clothesline. I was going to confront him, but I got cold feet. Where do you come up with these things? Ronald Todd, good afternoon from the West Banks of New Jersey. Wayne Blitz says, good afternoon. Let's see, Gino Hitch says, hi, Jerry and friends. Turned my furnace on last night for the first time. I hope you were able to get the Polaris going. Did you cut those big trees down? No, I'm not cutting those big trees down for a little while yet. It could happen any day, don't get me wrong, but I don't plan to cut them down for another couple of weeks at least. But speaking of turning on your furnace, I hear the piano playing softly, through all these doors and walls and stuff. And I had to go back through that direction anyway. And Sue's sitting at the piano playing the piano. Now, keep in mind, she doesn't really get into music that much, but for some reason she does play piano a little bit, and her mother played piano. And she had some new books or something she was trying it. But that's not what I wanted to tell you about. I want to tell you about the part with the furnace, turning the furnace on. She's sitting there. She's got 3 layers of clothes on. She's got her winter coat on, and she's got her stocking hat pulled down over her ears, playing the piano. She goes, I'm freezing. It's 70 in the house. It really is. I'm not kidding you. It's 70 degrees in here. So now do you understand why I have to cut so much firewood? Oh my gosh. Can you even imagine? It's just nuts. Absolutely nuts. Now, the reason I don't know. To me, it's a mental thing. I really think it is. She knows it's cold outside because it is like in the 40s out there in the mornings. And I think she just thinks about that and just hypers herself into being freezing or something. I don't know. I don't know how she gets so darn cold. But she literally had on 3 layers of clothes and with a winter coat and a stocking cap on in the house playing piano. I started to take her picture and I thought, no, I better not. Bohorn, hey Jerry and friends, turned cool this morning in Ruston, Louisiana. You guys don't have to rub it in. It's coming. I can feel it. It's been in the 40s the last several mornings. Oh boy, here we go. After we went live, Robert Davis is there. Fort Worth says, howdy, cool. David Tharp says, when I'm in port, I can use cellular data, but not at sea. Okay, is that supposed to be a joke too? Because I never know about you. If it is, that one went over my head. Let's see. David Tharp says, oh, thank heavens, I thought it was my eyes. The blue shirt? I have no idea what you're talking about. All right, let's see. Don Nice says, I want to thank you for doing my songs last night that you asked for. Well, I'm sorry I messed up most of my songs I did last night. I was not on, I wasn't on par very well last night. Lynette Landry says, thanks for doing my request last night. If I could drive through your mind, well, thank you for the request, and you're welcome. That one I at least got through relatively unscathed, I think. And that's what's really weird is that's the song I barely ever do. I've only think I've done that twice in the last year, maybe 3 times. Ronald Todd, I think the pressure relief valve is supposed to pop off at 60. Well, I did a lot of research on that, and there is no such thing as a pressure relief valve on a Polaris Ranger, on any model year even. I checked on other years because I know mine's unique, but they don't have them. So there's no pressure relief there for the cylinder. It's just it specifically says it relies on the starter to spin it over fast enough. And I do think the starter's a problem. I really do. The other one burned up. It in fact, when I put the new one on, which was a used one, keep in mind, it's new to the present time, but it was a used one that I saved because I thought it was still good. And you could spin it really easy by hand. Well, the one I took off, it wouldn't hardly spin at all by hand anymore. So I do think both of these starters, well, I know the one starter went bad, and I think this one's on the edge of going bad too. So I do think it could be the starter, even though Scott Roberts says it's not the starter. Well, I don't think that's the reason it's not starting, you understand. That's not what I'm saying. But I do think the starter's going bad. Sounds like a spark issue, and as I said yesterday, and I know you weren't here yesterday, you were with a friend. I read that while the video was playing, but anyway, I did mention yesterday that it's got a lot of spark. That part's definitely not an issue, and I know about how much spark it should have, because I'm used to doing all those lawnmower engines for all those years. I know when it's good spark and when it's not, and I can just look at it and go, it's good spark, and it is. It's plenty good spark. I tested it all the way down to the end of the spark plug, in fact, and it's working really good. So it's, somebody said it could be timing, and I'm not ruling that out. It could possibly be timing. I'm wondering I don't think it's a stuck valve or anything because of the compression. Even though it's only 120 by that gauge, which is probably not right anyway, but it seems to hold it. Like when it goes to 120, it just sits there. It doesn't creep off, which I expected it to creep off, and it didn't. It didn't creep off on either cylinder. So even though, in fact, I have a feeling the compression's okay on it also if I had the right gauge to check it with. Did you ever hear it's not easy being me? Dottie Hildebrandt says, afternoon, everyone. Well, I'm glad you're here, Dottie. Scott Roberts says, oh, yeah, that's where Scott was saying he was with a friend that was on his last hours. Well, I'm very sorry to hear about that. But then it moved around on me here. Hugh O'Connor says, by the sound of it, you are losing compression whilst it may run at 120. You need a bigger number to start with. Well, I don't know about that yet. Like I said, it doesn't seem to be losing any compression, because once it pops up to that, it just stays there. So I don't think it's leaking compression or anything. But again, I don't really know. I'm not ruling out hardly anything at this point. To me, it's what my gut's telling me. It's something to do with electronics. And it could be timing electronics. That's possible. But it could also be one of these other little modules, units, something that's just not doing what it's supposed to do. As far as I know, there's no coil on there. As far as I know, yeah. I mean, I don't think there's any coil on these kinds of engines with this electronic gadgetry. I don't know. The answer is I don't know. If I knew, I'd already have it fixed. But so if anybody's got any other ideas of things that maybe you haven't heard me talk about that maybe I ought to check, feel free to throw them out there. But I really wish I knew how to test the ECU. I wouldn't mind spending the $600 to get a new one if I knew that would fix it. But you know how that's going to go. I'm going to spend the $600, get the thing, and it's going to do exactly what it's doing right now. And that's what I'm worried about. Yeah. Scott says, try holding your mouth different. Well, that's what my mom would have said. Could it be a valve setting issue? I don't know. I guess it's possible. It could almost be anything. It could be the valves. It could be almost anything. I suspect electronic, though, because it kind of acted up for a day there, and then it just kind of quit all at once. And I don't know. That just kind of reminds me of electronic stuff. Dottie's praying for us. Thank you, Dottie. Michael 2X says, Joe at 2 Vintage is the best YouTube mechanic. Rosemeister. All right. Well, I'll see what he says. And then Dottie's praying again there for us some more. And then let's see here. Preston Johnson says, if the Ranger ran for a short time, I don't think the compression would be too low to run. Maybe electronics. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, that's what I think too. I mean, like I was telling them yesterday that I realized that one of the spark plugs wasn't making connection to the wire. The little round deal that goes over the plug was stuck way up inside the hood, and the hood's so long that the spark plug wasn't even touching that. So it was either running on one cylinder or the spark was jumping the gap, So anyway, I fixed that and got that fixed, put it on there thinking that might even be my whole problem, and put it on there and hit the starter. It started right up, and it ran for like 3 seconds, sounded perfect. And then it didn't anymore, and it hasn't since. It sounded perfect for 3 seconds, like 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, about that long. And I'm thinking, well, there you go. I fixed it. That's the way it was. So I do think it's something electronic. I really do. I just don't know what it is. And I kind of doubt it's the big unit. It could be, but I kind of doubt that's it. Because like I said, I already had a backup one of those that I think I bought it off of eBay for cheap, but they guaranteed it was a good one. That's what they said, quote unquote. But neither one of those units do anything different than the other one. So, I mean, the machine still acts exactly the same. So with either unit, I don't know. So I kind of doubt it's that, but you never know. It could be. Maybe both of those units have the exact same problem, I mean, it could happen, I guess. And that would be like my luck. Paul Akers got an ATV that jumped time. Mechanics set it, and it runs perfect. Yeah, it's possible. I guess it could be something like that. Wavy Gravy. Ever since my neighbor's brother moved in with him, my wife claims she's new director of the CDC, Center for Doofus Control. Yeah. I don't want her to see me. Brad Bertram, your valves aren't seating well. That's why the gauge pumps to 120 psi. Also do what test? Well, Brad, I actually think that it's the tester I have. I have a feeling if I get the other tester, it's going to go way higher. And the reason I say that is because that guy showed it online. I mean, he showed it doing right there, and he tested it with one, then he tested it with the other one, and it was way different. And I'm using the one that was testing way low. And he said you can't use that kind of tester on a small engine. You have to use this other kind of tester. I didn't know that. So I don't know, Brad, if that's the issue or not. I don't think what you're saying is my issue at this point. I mean, I don't, at least not at this point. It might after I get the other tester, and then if it didn't change, well, then I would say you're probably right. But I'm going to check it with that other tester first. I guess I'm just going to order one of those and bite the bullet. Let's see. WP says, David's I comment is referring to the out of focus beginning. Oh, there you go. Yeah, see, there's too many subjects, too many things, too much water running under the bridge here for me to keep it all straight. Yeah, Preston just said, let's take bets on the Polaris. Well, right now it's winning, I can tell you that. Rick Casada says, might that Ranger have one of those newfangled computer chips hidden in it? Yeah, well, basically that's what it is. It's a 2009. It's got that ECU, electronic control module or electronic control unit or, whatever. But there's, at least to what I've been able to figure out, there's no good way to test that darn thing. I mean, they probably have some way to test it at Polaris, but I don't have any way to test it that I can think of. And nobody else seems to show any way to test it online, Kevin Allen, restricted exhaust. Well, I didn't check that, but maybe. You never know, maybe. I'm glad you at least said it. That's something to look at. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. I'll look at it. Ronald Todd, troubleshooting is at the point now which looks like starter. If it's type of shutoff switch, you wouldn't get any spark. Never hurts to adjust the valves. Yeah, it's... I was looking on the valves and the head and all that issue and online, and I know how to go about doing that now, and if I have to get that deep, I will. I still don't think that's it. I still think it's electronic right now. So I'm holding off on that until I maybe stumble across some other issue. I don't want to tear that whole engine apart, but if I have to, I will, and I know how to do that. I can fix it if I have to. Bullhorn, my side required stepping on the brake pedal to crank. Yeah, I not only do I step on the brake pedal, but I also check the brake. There's a switch on the brake pedal down there at the, I don't know, where the lines come together. There's a switch on that it's a pressure switch, I'm sure. And I bypassed the pressure switch even trying that by jumping across it. And that didn't fix it either. So I don't think it's that switch, though a number of people online said that's where their problem was, you know. I don't know. At least right now, unless it fooled me, you know, somehow or another I didn't get it jumped properly or something like that. But as far as I can tell, that shouldn't be the problem. Have you tried spraying some starting ether? No, I didn't try that either. You know, that's a good idea. I should try that. You'd think I would have thought of that, but I didn't because, I don't know why, because I just didn't. I just felt like it's some kind of electronic issue, you know, until I figure that out, I don't figure it's going to start. But you might be right. I'm going to try that just for grins. That's a good idea to try at least. How is Yara doing these days? Well, I haven't seen him in a couple days. I mean, he was at the wedding on last Friday. So Becca's been married a week now. Everything was going good then. The wedding was really nice. Scott Roberts, off the subject, but your fingers have fingertips, but your toes don't have toe tips. Yet you can tippy toe, but not tip finger. Go figure. There is something to that. Scott Roberts says, we were doing home renovations, and incredibly, when we knocked down a wall, we found a secret, fully furnished room, and then I remembered we live in a duplex. Yeah, that's a little late for remembering that. Jeff Pierce, a fresh set of eyeballs would find the source of the Polaris problem in 10 minutes. Well, okay. Yeah, I would say it would really depend on who had those fresh set of eyeballs in their head. I don't think just anybody looking at it's going to figure it out in 10 minutes. Eddie D, there used to be a light that you put on injector to see if it's getting power signal. Don't know about that, but it's interesting. Bob Lee says, have you downloaded the service manual PDF? I found several different model Google year and models of your machine. You can download the actual service manual. I'll have to look and see if I've got that service manual. To be honest, I don't know. I've got them for a lot of the equipment, but I'm not sure I have it for that Ranger. And again, it would have to be the 2009 model year. It's not the same as everybody else's. And that's the truth, man. I couldn't even begin to tell you. Like I told you, the starter, the stator, you know, the stator that charges the system. I went to the Polaris dealer to get a new one when it went out the first time, and he says, "Oh, that's going to be $460." I'm going it's basically an alternator. It's all it is. I said, $460 for just that little thing? Yep. And then he goes, "Oh, wait a minute. What year did you say yours is?" I said, "It's a 2009. He goes, "Well, I'm sorry, but on that one, it's $1,200. I said, "Are you kidding me?" So I bought one of the $35 ones off of eBay from China, and it worked for a few months, and then it quit. So I put another one on there. It worked for a few months, then it quit. And I've been charging it with a solar charger ever since, and it's been fine, actually. It works just fine. But then again, maybe that's caused this problem. Who knows? I mean, I just don't know. Let's see. Robert Davis, I've come across an exhaust restriction on cars, and Polaris problem doesn't make me think of it. Honestly, I'm leaning toward a bad battery or weak starter. Well, I don't think the batteries are the issue. The starter could be, but I think it's turning over enough that somewhere along the line it would have started and kept running, you know. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but it seems like it should have by now. Eddie D, yeah, Harbor Freight used to sell a Noid light kit. It was used on older American vehicles. I don't know what what you're saying there on that one. But anyway, guys, I'm going to let that be it. I guess I'm going to go get those packages ready to ship for Cometa Systems. I'm going to try to get this video finished for today. Do me a favor and watch it. I think you'll find it enjoyable. It's a video on making the axe handle from scratch, just out of a rough sawn piece of hickory that I cut the hickory down off the trails when we had that big storm blow down this past spring, and it knocked down. One of them was a hickory that it knocked down, and I just thought, well, since I'm cutting this up, I might as well see if I can save some of it and make some handles out of it, and that's what I did. Robert says, yes, the Noid. Noid. I've never even heard that term. I don't know what that is. Thumbs up, guys. Yeah, if you would do that, that'd help. We will see you Monday, if not before. Thanks for being here.